Right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first weekend boxing review in a while. Myself and the main man, Mr. JFT, in the building. JFT, recovered from Sunday morning shenanigans?
Just about.
Me too. I still woke up this morning with a bit of...
Longest shift we've ever done. I think we did about 10 hours-ish, few breaks in between, but, it was worth it in the end. We saw some fantastic fights, some surprise results, some disappointing results, bit of heartbreak. We had a little bit of everything, didn't we? We had a little bit of everything over the weekend from Friday to Sunday. It was a good one, but yeah, I'm feeling it this week. I'm tired.
Yeah, yeah, me too, mate. Bit of a sore head this morning, but as you say, worth it indeed. We've got no punches pulled tomorrow and a bit of extra content added bonus that we'll reveal in due time tomorrow. But so we'll do the review show. Liam can't make it tonight, unfortunately, but he'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right, where should we start? Let's start Benavidez Morrell, shall we? Yeah, we'll start them with. We'll start with. Yeah, go on. We'll start at the top. We'll start with Benavidez Morrell. Just as advertised, wasn't it? To be fair, quality fight. Benavidez just pulled away that little bit down the stretch. I think Morrell even said himself in the presser afterwards. He just said that his experience probably was just a little bit too much. Benavidez has been pro about 11, 12 years. He's only 28 or something. He's a good fighter. Benavidez, really good, and so is Morrell. I was impressed with his performance as well. I know we wax lyrical about it on the night. Have you any further thoughts? Now you've had a couple of days.
I mean, I've watched it back. I've watched it a couple of times, and the results right. I do think that the point deduction, the referee was hasty in deducting that point.
Yeah,
it had no prior warnings for holding and hitting. I know it was after the bell, but it was reactionary. So if you watch it back, Benavidez claps him just as the bell goes. So it's and the referee's sort of separating them. So it was 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. I'm not saying that the point deduction would have made a difference, but it went nearly as I said. If you remember, I said in No Punches Pulled that Benavidez would be winning, Morrell would maybe get a knockdown, and that would even it out. We'd maybe get a draw. We weren't far off that.
Yeah.
And evening, Luca. I know they gave it fairly wide to Benavidez. I had it a little bit closer. I thought the championship rounds-ish, 2 or 3 rounds for me. But I do believe that if if Morrell had had 2 or 3 more fights at a higher level, maybe a Caleb Plant or a Durrell or somebody of that ilk, sort of fringe top 5, I think we'd have seen a different performance. I think inexperience shone through. Benavidez, I know there's only a year in age, but in terms of fights, professional fights, Benavidez has had nearly twice as many fights. He's been in bigger fights. For me, it was down to, and I say this all the time, seasoning, experience, being under the lights, the bright lights, because it's all well and good fighting at a high level, but until you're under the bright lights, and I mean the cameras of the world were watching, the eyes of the world was on them that night, certainly the South American and North American world, and the rest of the world in some respects. It's different. I'm not saying he froze. He played into it a bit. He was gesturing. He was messing around with the crowd. I think if
it was for the first 8 rounds, wasn't he? And
slightly different tactics and concentrated a little bit more, he could have made it a little bit closer. I think Benavidez is just that bit better than him, and that's no slight on his skill set. I think he beats 90% of 175ers or maybe 168ers out there. It's a fantastic fight. As I said, I've watched it again twice, and it wasn't a tough watch. I did watch it once with the commentary off, and I will say that never again. The commentary was some of the most biased commentary I have ever heard in my entire life. But where does Benavidez go from here?
Well, that's definitely something I want to discuss, Luca. That's a really good point. I was just reading that while you were talking. Yeah, Kakachi and Cordina, it changed the fight, didn't it?
Changed the whole fight.
Cordina never recovered.
I think didn't Dubois do it to Joshua as well? Didn't he smack him just after the bell, round 1?
I can't even remember.
Anyway, look. I thought the ref was hasty to take a point straight off. It just seemed a little bit over the top for something that was done in the heat. It wasn't as though they had a clean break, bell went and he cracked him. It was they were in an exchange. The referee got in between because he'd heard the 10-second clack. So he's waiting. As soon as the bell goes, Benavidez is already throwing a punch that lands and then he hits him back. So it's more reactive for me. It's not as cut and dry as the ref made out. Took a point. As I say, I don't think it would have changed the fight regardless, but I just didn't like it. Because he could have done something to Morrell in his mind. He's chasing it then. He knows he's lost a point. He's throwing shots.
Well, it's the same round he got a knockdown in, so he lost his advantage out of it because he was on his way to a 10-8, wasn't he? But yeah, look, good performance from both. You mentioned about what's next for Benavidez. He said he wants to stay in America. He said he doesn't want to do the Riyadh season thing, but someone pulled up an old tweet of his calling for Turkey to make him versus Canelo. So it wasn't always that way inclined. But look, at the same time, he said he wants to challenge Zerdo for his cruiserweight belts if he can't get the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol. Now, let's be honest.
Careful up there.
I know.
Let's careful up there.
Let's be honest. Look, Benavidez was a 168 at one time, as was Zerdo. But on Beterbiev and Bivol, he knows full well that they're fighting on Riyadh season banner. That they're both doing business with Riyadh season. So the only way that Benavidez is going to challenge for the undisputed light heavyweight championship, which is going to be, Beterbiev could retire if he beats Bivol, in my opinion.
I think he will.
If Bivol wins, I think we'll see a trilogy. So yeah, I think there's potential for fragmentation of belts for sure. But if Bivol wins, I think it's a bad result for Benavidez because I think we'll see a trilogy and then he has to wait again. So I think the best result for Benavidez could probably be Beterbiev going 2-0 against Bivol. I couldn't see Beterbiev hanging around for David Benavidez after.
I think he retires. I think he retires.
I think if he wins, he does.
I think win, lose or draw. I think he retires. He's 40, coming on to 41.
Yeah, I think in the trilogy though, the only reason it makes me say he'll stay on and do a trilogy is there'll be so much money thrown. If it's like the first fight, Turkey will want the trilogy, won't he? And
yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, but
he'll make a fortune for it. That's the.
He's a simple guy though. I mean, he's got more money than 11. He's very much like Habib Nurmagomedov in
the legacy fight though, I guess, isn't it as well? You're 1-on-1. We wouldn't know who the best of the era was at light heavyweight. There's a guess that's to it.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I'll contradict myself and say that they'll make the trilogy. But I just had a funny feeling that he was.
You could be right. Look, he is 40. You're right. He's going to be 40. I think come fight night in a few weeks. So his best days might. He might age in the 4 months since the first fight. We don't know, do we? We're going to watch and find out, but. We don't.
2.5 weeks. 2.5 weeks.
It's not long now, but yeah, look, we'll see what's next. Morrell will probably go into, I'd like to see Morrell against one of our guys. Winner of Boazzi and Smith. I wouldn't mind seeing him take that fight.
Do you think so? I keep saying this, but I think he's better. I think he'd be better at a division down. He's not a big guy. He's not a big dude, and. I still think Benavidez could do better work down at 168. He's a bit fleshy for me, but yeah, look, Boazzi, Yard, Callum Smith, any of those fights I'd watch. They'd be awesome fights.
They would.
Absolutely fantastic. They've all got fights coming up, but 175's hotting up, and certainly us here domestically, we've got a big part to play in this division. It's unfortunate that I say unfortunate. It's not because we're getting the second of potentially one of the best trilogies ever, one of the best matchups ever. But I'd love to see them get a chance. One of our guys get a chance of a big fight for a belt or an interim belt against Morrell, because really he can't go down. He's a bit like. Similar to Adam Azim, he can't go down now. He's got to that level. The only way is up. There's not that many people to fight, and our domestic crop are all world level.
Yeah,
they're all world level.
I think I would be inclined to agree, Luke. After what I saw on Saturday, I think Morrell probably would be favourite over. I think Boazzi would have the best chance of beating him. To be fair, but
it depends what happens against Callum Smith. I want to see what Callum's got left.
I'm looking forward to that fight. That's going to be,
I think,
because, Boazzi, he's never fought anyone as good as Smith, to be fair.
Takes a lot of punches as well, and Smith hits hard, and I think Morrell hits hard.
Smith's only lost to Beterbiev and Canelo as well.
Yeah.
That's
a lot of people forget that. A lot of people forget that.
To keep, is it?
And he was a unified, undisputed world champion and the winner of the Muhammad Ali Trophy. Don't forget.
He was indeed. Before we move to Azim, then just for anyone that's with us, thanks for tuning in tonight. We're just going to review the weekend's action. We'll do no punches pulled as normal for Chisora Wallin tomorrow. And we have a very special guest lined up for before. We'll tell you that. Jay, Pitbull Cruz against Fierro. Have you managed to watch it yet? It was unbelievable.
Absolute firefight. Absolute firefight. I slept through it originally, woke up, got the result. Spent about an hour trying to get online. Got there eventually. Spent me 20 quid. What a fight. What a fight. I mean, yeah. There's every superlative. I think
Pitbull could fight at a lower weight,
So do I. Yeah,
I think he can make, I think he could make, honestly, I know he fights
super
at 140.
Feather.
I honestly think he can make super feather, but do 135 for God's sake. He feels like he's outsized, but look,
Could you imagine him hitting people at 135?
Oh,
He'd knock them dead.
Savage.
He showed
heart of a lion, and so did Fierro. I want to see that again. Actually, I think the right decision. I think Pitbull did nick it, but
edged.
What a fight! Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'd like to see that again. I'd like to see that again. There was no definitive winner for me in that fight. Yes, Pitbull edged the fight, but by very, very slim margins. So you could have that fight again. You could have that fight again for sure.
I think so. Stephen Fulton schooled Brandon Figueroa in the rematch. Fantastic. Made me eat my words, made you and a lot of other people.
All of us didn't even get dressed for it. Came straight from the
Timbo's combination. You'll see AJ fighting in the jeans.
Best kit I've ever seen. Best kit I have ever seen. Do you know how many people said to me, I can't believe they're letting boxing Timberlands? I said, they're not actual Timbos. They are Timbos, but they are boxing boot Timbos.
Yeah.
It was an awesome kit. I loved it. It's from
I loved it as well. Yeah. What a performance. You can't go out and not perform when you dress like that.
Meadows all look stupid. Meadows all eat our words. I didn't think he had it in him. Coming off the Castro
even his gum shield.
Yes.
Everything about he was wound up. Fulton was.
Listen, his back was against the wall, right? His back was against the wall. Everybody was backing against him. Was it the Castro performance, his last fight?
Yeah, Carlos Castro, who Figueroa flatlined in 6 rounds.
Who made Fulton in parts of that fight
he did
look pretty average.
He did.
I wouldn't say Figueroa looked shit, but
he was smothering his work though, wasn't he? Like he wasn't.
He didn't give himself any room. He didn't give himself any room, and Fulton was waiting for him to come onto him and did all his best work in tight. I don't know why Figueroa didn't just. It's easy for me to say I get that, but for me, not all Figueroa needed to do, but I believe that he would have had a better chance if he'd have took a step back and made Fulton come to him and pick him off with his range, but he didn't. He stood right in front of him and tried to mix it up in close. Fulton, shorter arms, kept his hands tight and was picking him off. Absolutely fantastic performance. This is the Stephen Fulton that we were all raging about 18 months ago. Where's this guy been? Maybe he only gets up for the big fights, maybe. I don't know, but that is a different guy that boxed Castro. Completely different bloke.
Yeah, it was definitely, and the guy fought a new way as well. He was brilliant, Stephen Fulton. Just before we go into Azim, then Jay, just overall a big night for PBC, wasn't it? It was good on paper, the card, but it really delivered.
They needed it. PBC's needed a night like this for a couple of years now. The teetering on the edge of being bought up or swallowed up or taken over. Has Liam retired?
No, mate. He's
the champion in recess. Yeah. The co-host in recess. We're interim co-host tonight. No, he's otherwise engaged. Lost my train of thought there, but
PBC.
Yeah, I think PBC needed this. They needed this. This is like boxer on levels below, but boxer needed this. Sometimes promotions need a big night make everybody remind everybody who they are and what they've got. And all their guys came out and performed. Everybody performed on Saturday night. There was no stinkers, really. They were all good fights, 50-50 fights. They all had a bit of something, a bit of excitement, cuts, head clashes, low blows, points off, knockdowns. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic for PBC, and it puts them right back in the mix.
Yeah, definitely. They've got the tank against Lamont Roach coming up on the same night as Crocker Donovan on March the 1st as well. So they've got another decent one. The co-main, it slips me now, but there's a decent fight on the undercard as well as the co-main. So fair play to them. We'll go to Adam Azim then against Lipinets. First of all, though, Elvis was in the building, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. God love him. I tell you what, that man's
brilliant.
Tough as teak. He's got the gold bottom rack. He's got his teeth done. He came in with his red beret on and his full army regalia. Had a lot of fans. I don't know whether
the watch along was dominated. Fans. It was all Elvis fans.
Mate, I don't know whether he was whether they were expats or whether they travelled or what, but he had a lot of fans. Callum Simpson brings a lot of fans, but when I've watched it back, they're just as loud, they're just as raucous, and he came to fight. I think, I'm not making excuses for him, but he got 12 days notice? I know Callum Simpson only got 12 days notice as well, but Callum Simpson's been boxing at a higher level.
Yeah.
And came in as the champion off the back of another fight. So he'd not long had a fight, 3-4 weeks? So he was in some sort of shape. Yeah. Elvis, we'll see him again. Elvis will be back in the building. Great performance. Yeah, it were. I think fatigue played a part in the end. The fact that he stayed down for he did the old up at 9. I thought I'd beat the count sort of thing. He was knackered, bless him, because he put a lot into it. There were tricky patches in those first few rounds for Callum Simpson. He navigated his way through, and it's good to see. But he was under pressure there. I mean, I think that was a harder fight for him than the Woodall fight. Yeah,
well, he had seemed it, but hopefully he gets a bit of rest now, and he can come back in the summer for what's going to be a big fight. I don't think he's getting the Pacheco fight that was mentioned, though.
Absolutely not. No. He's got more chance of getting the winner of Whitaker and Cameron, I think, in Barnsley.
Yeah, that would.
Especially if it's Liam Cameron, because that's Sheffield Barnsley, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Liam Cameron's name was mentioned for a Queensbury versus Boxer card as well. Azim Lipinets, Jay, we got to watch it. Azim stopped him in. I agree with that, Luca, as well. I think it was kind of thrown in their defense. It's thrown together last minute. I'm not saying Vidal, Riley, and Chamberlain would have been a good fight, because it wouldn't have been, but I guess it's a level
bigger names. They were stuck, other than scrapping the whole card, which they were never going to do.
So I'll give Boxer
best they could come up with at such short notice. Main event, I was impressed by Adam Azim, right? And I've always been skeptical of him, because of how, Shane McGuigan said he's the greatest talent he's ever seen. I took that with a pinch of salt. But I'm starting to see some of what they say he's got. He proved that. Reminds me of Amir Khan, and I'm not saying that just because he's Asian. I'm talking about the way he fights, his fast blistering burst, his wide stance. So he's very Amir Khan-ish. Esque, should I say, in the way that he stands, the way that he throws his combinations, he blitzes in 6s, 7s, and 8s. Lipinets is tough, man. He took some bats, but it also proves to me that Adam Azim I don't think he hits that hard. I think that's his only flaw. I don't think
he definitely doesn't have one punch. Well,
no chance.
He's got great technique and he's fast, but
and he don't waste a lot, and he's very accurate, but as you go up the levels, you need to be strong enough to keep somebody off you. And if you can't set him back with power, that's when we're going to see how good he is. Because Lipinets, for all that he said he was going to bring, he showed that he was significantly older, shot worn, towards the tail end of his career. I know he's only 35, but he's had a lot of hard fights at top level. it was probably the perfect fight. Bravo to Ben Shalom and his matchmakers. I think they picked the right fight. It was a big enough name, former world champion. And Adam Azim didn't really get troubled in that fight. He didn't really have any hard, difficult spots in it for me. 6, 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, the low blows were a little bit of an issue for him. They blamed it on Lipinets crouching, but Shane told him in the end to actually
stop throwing
to the body. So it's somewhat to. I mean, he's not really done it much before. As in, it's not Shane McGuigan. Take his word for it. Said it doesn't really happen in the gym. So I guess you kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. Luke says Shane's been talking shit. Low say about Dalton Smith's ability. Lipinets corner. Yeah, look, Shane is all in on Adam Azim, isn't he? That's his next big. He's you could have him for the next 10, 11, 12 years, couldn't he? So he's gonna say what he needs to say. Look, I have to talk about the Dalton Smith thing, although we've done it to the absolute death. It's just not going to happen, is it, anytime soon? So, and they'll keep saying it. Look, Ben Shalom keeps saying it could happen this year. Shane saying, yes, could happen this year, but no one's saying anything with any conviction that makes me think it's going to happen. Look, if I'm Dalton Smith, I'm watching Puello versus Sandor Martin. I'm going ringside and I'm calling for the winner. Realistic chance of winning a WBC belt. If I'm Azim and Shalom and McGuigan, I want Dalton Smith to win that green and gold belt and then get the fight on, because automatically then it goes from being a big domestic fight to a huge world title fight. And that is the business sense of it, isn't it, really? But first of all, Dalton would have to win that belt. And Adam Azim, they're not going to put him in with Dalton Smith next. They are progressing him a little bit. Ihara Davis, Lipinets. His next opponent's going to be an interesting one. Who do they put him in with next? I know they tried to get Montana Love for the Eubank Ben card. They couldn't agree the money on that one. What are your overriding thoughts about all of the situation with that?
If I'm honest, I think they've missed the boat. I think Dalton Smith and Team Smith are going to play hardball now. I think they're going to go win that green belt, because I believe he will beat either of whoever wins that. I believe Dalton Smith's got the beating of him. And I think they'll play hardball then. And I think they're going to say, go away and win a world title. What have I got to win by fighting you? You should have fought me 12 months ago when you had the opportunity. I can really see that happening. Well, yeah, we do. Who doesn't want the Wheelie Bin Green IBO belt? And no, you can't use that IBO. I've trademarked Wheelie Bin Green. Thank you. I own that colour. I will be suing all the local councils very shortly for my retainer for using my colour. But no, in all seriousness, Adam Azim didn't seem too confident either, stumbling over his words. Dalton Smith, you didn't perform that well either in your last fight. You better be ready when we do fight, because that fight's still marinating.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Awful. But didn't seem full of confidence. And I don't mean full of confidence in he doesn't believe he can win the fight, because I believe he wholeheartedly believes he can win the fight. What I mean is, I don't think he feels confident that fight's getting made. He knows what's going on in the background, and they've told him something, because that was his prime opportunity to say, right, you won, I won, I want you next. You're talking about winning a world title. All right, go get that, and then I'll fight you. I'll fight you in Sheffield. I'll fight you in London, wherever. When you win that belt, I want you. He didn't say that. He just said, you didn't do right good in your fight.
Yeah, that's what they're dining out on, wasn't they? They're dining out on Walid Weezer as his opponent. Oh, we fought Lipinets. You fought Walid Weezer. Look, it doesn't matter who fought who. At the end of the day,
let's fight. That was his prime opportunity to just say, look straight down the camera and say, Dalton Smith, you're ducking me. I want you. If it's not next, go win that strap and let me take it off you. Or something, anything, but I did better than you did. Yeah. That fight's still marinating.
Doesn't fill you with confidence, does it, at all?
I think he half turned away and then went, you better be ready.
Yeah.
For when?
Yeah.
Make the fight or don't make it. Move on. Or come out, Shalom, and say, listen, I'm speaking with Eddie. they've got dibs at the WBC. They've got first dibs at the WBC. After that, we're making the fight.
Yeah.
Whether it's a unification for the IBO, because it is still a world title, or the fact that the rivals, we want to see who's the best in Britain. But give us something. Stop saying he's scared, they're doing this, they're doing that. You've both had your wins. It were a prime example, and I think they missed a trick there. I don't know whether Ben Shalom had said to him, don't call him out, because he did everything but call him out, which is weird for me. He should have just said, listen, you're scared, I'll batter you, I'll see you soon, or anything but what he said. What he said, I felt embarrassed. I felt secondhand embarrassment for him, because he said he reads Harry Potter to learn better English. Don't know why. He was born here. English is his first language. I know he's probably got his native Urdu or Punjabi or whatever, but he stumbled over his words. It was so cringe. It were like, ugh. Just make the fight, man. Make it or don't make it. Stop leaving us in limbo.
Yeah, I'm done talking about it now with Azim and Smith. Let's see. They keep telling us it's going to happen this year. They've got 11 months to fulfill on that promise. Let's hope it happens in the UK if it does as well, not in Riyadh. But look, Jay, I think that'll cover it for the weekend review. Thanks to Luca and Ryan for the interaction. Anyone else that's joined us, just to reiterate, big day tomorrow. We've got no punches pulled, but before that, we've hopefully got a very special guest that we'll be going live for. So join the chat and fire away. Please do. I'll put that out before it happens. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your Monday, everyone. Jay, I'll be seeing you tomorrow.
You will. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, take care, everybody.